Oh, I'm absolutely done after that. I'm not going to lie. That was it was tense for the first to the last kick of the ball. Obviously, it was frustrating at times as well. The conditions weren't great. We kept making mistakes. We just couldn't really seem to do anything offensively. And then the sort of manner we concede the goals, unforgivable really, because we get away with it about 6 or 7 times prior to that.
I think if we're going to play a high line or be as risky when we've got the ball in the opposition half in terms of like no leaving many men back, you need the quality up top to be able to do that, and we just didn't have that tonight. I don't think obviously Dessers was a man down completely. I thought Silva put in a couple of frustrating bits at the end of the game. I thought he put in an alright performance. Scott Wright surprised me. I've seen a lot of folk kind of slate him on Twitter, but I think that's a pretty decent performance considering what we've seen before.
I thought he looked pretty dangerous at times, to be honest. He was positive, he was driving at them. Like I say, he looked like it was maybe where the goal was going to come for, the chances were going to come for. It was via Scott Wright, because he was driving at people. Really is nothing to lose, you know what I mean? He knows he's not a starter, he's thrown in there because we're a bit light out in the right now, obviously with the injuries that we've picked up, but it's more frustrating, I think, because that team were there to be beat. Well, I truly believe it, because they're a good team. They've got a lot of good players and expensive signings and that, but they were there for the taking, let's be honest.
Well, the thing is, like, from a neutral's perspective, if you're not a Rangers fan, you could be forgiven for getting beat off a side like Benfica, but when you're actually watching that game, I just didn't see any reason why, if we weren't in the top of our game, we could have put a few away. But as I said, that game, the one thing we were missing, the most important thing, was that firepower up top, that presence up top. I mean, the amount of times we lost the ball at the edge of the opposition box, it felt like, we were watching a performance for, earlier on in the season.
It was unfortunate.
And to be honest, it's one of the ones, because we've had so many injuries up there, players filling in. We've also lost Sterling, who managed to keep that solid when the injuries were there, but we know what we're going to get for the likes of Dessers, the likes of Scott Wright, even though he put in a decent performance, but I just don't feel like, and I think Lawrence.
Well, it's a big game to be thrown into. You know what I mean? That was an intense game. It was end to end. We were keeping such a high line, and as soon as we made a mistake and gave the ball away, or the ball got intercepted, which happened numerous times the night, they clearly knew what their game plan was. They were there to hit us in attack. I didn't expect us to be so risky. I like it, you know what I mean? I'm not going to complain. I'm like, Clement was there to go and... He wasn't there to frustrate them, he was there to try and win at Ibrox, which we normally do in Europe. But for the corner, mate, it happened once... Actually, it maybe happened a handful of times, honestly, for our corner to then go into nearly conceding a goal for our corner. That, for me, is it's ridiculous.
The thing is, as well, like... I think that throwing players forward that much was probably the only thing that was going to kill us, because I think, when we did get back, we did settle in more shape. I thought we defended pretty well, to be honest. I've seen some solid defending. I think Shooter had a brilliant game. And probably, you've seen him swing in probably what is the best cross of the game, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, like, when you've only got 2 players back after you've took your own corner, and in a team with the pace and the ability like Benfica, you're going to get caught out eventually.
And look, see, at the end of the day, going toe to toe with Benfica over 2 legs, and look what we lost the game by a margin of the width of the halfway line. Do you know what I mean? That's the sickening thing, because I really do think that, as good a team as they are, that if we were just a bit more clinical in the final third the night, that we really could have won this game, at least took it to extra time. But even see the one that we get, and it's Scott, I think it's Scott Wright that plays the pass through to Dessers, and he's offside, but he misses it anyway. He doesn't know he's offside at the time, and obviously if it's close, VAR could check it. It wasn't close in this case. but you see the finished product for Dessers there, and he hits it straight at the goalkeeper. That's really going to be the difference between the two teams. Obviously they break away and their strikers just utterly clinical. If that was up the other end of the park, 9 times out of 10 Dessers probably hitting the keeper with that one as well.
100%. So and the thing is as well, I think that we still struggle with this the new, and it's something we've struggled with before, and it's holding the ball up in advanced areas of the park. You know, we've seen a couple of bad touches for the likes of, I mean, Silva had a couple, Lawrence had quite a lot of bad touches.
He just went through like a 10-minute spell where he gave the ball straight to a Benfica player about 8 times in a row, and you could see his arse just collapsed, honestly. And even like the easier passes after that, you could tell that he was probably tired, he was probably nervous. Sometimes you give the ball away a couple of times, you think, oh no, is this am I having one of these games? Is it no man night? And coming towards the latter part of the game, it wasn't, and obviously had to get hooked off, and then there wasn't enough time left for us to salvage it back, to be honest.
As the game went on, it kind of, we were expecting a kind of onslaught, that just playing that direct football, but again, I just feel like I feel like the energy just wasn't there to make that push in the last 10-15 minutes, which you usually see for us, not just in Europe, but just in general as well. But I just, at the end of that game, I looked at the players, the way they're playing, they're passing it about. I looked at the players were, flat on their feet, out of position, and I felt like we look done here. Like, as in, for this game, we look sharp. We look like we've given all we can give. We look like we're out of ideas, and almost that was that. Like, that's how I felt towards the end of that game. But what I will say is, I think there was a lot of big performances in there for the like, say, as I said, Suter, but I think Yilmaz, his ability to get out of the tight kind of areas, and I think as well, Silva's good out in the wider areas. I much prefer watching him there as well. I think Lundstrom got a lot of stick I've seen on Twitter as well, but again, I think that out of our 2 centre mids, I think he had the better performance.
He went through a wee spell in the game.
He did.
Like a 10-minute spell where he had that one where he sort of like miskicked it, or like tried to take a touch, and like he's obviously kicked it and gave it straight to one of the Benfica players. But I think he went through like a rough 10-minute spell as well. But
it seems tired mistakes. That's to me
definitely and tired. The conditions were hard. That team set up well as well. They actually I would say set up pretty like deep defensively as well. You know what I mean? No like a low block, no 10 men behind the ball, but they were good. They're
the
a
thing, good team. Right? They're a solid team. Their team's worth.
But the difference is up top they could hold on to the ball better than what we could. That comes for obviously. I don't think Dessers has got that capability first and foremost. But then just to be cute in and around like your opponent's box and really I was saying during the game, obviously I was like, I'd much prefer if we would make the mistake of over hitting the pass rather than under hitting it, because I would say double times. Figures tonight where we've under hit a pass and it's played right, especially when you're playing that high up. We were playing well high up the park tonight. Defensive line was so high up that as soon as you make a slack pass and it's intercepted, I mean, they were ready to go in the counter straight away. 100%. That's actually normally what we do in Europe. Obviously being at home, it wasn't the case tonight, but I feel very, very frustrated. It was a hard 100%. One for the first to the last minute. I just wanted it to win. Obviously it's at Ibrox,
it's one of the ones, because I think we had the discussion before the first leg, and I said to you, I'm like, I've never felt as relaxed like watching Rangers in the Europa League, because although 100% the Europa League's are worth everything nowadays, European competition is worth everything, because at the end of the day it's down to finances, but it's one of the ones where you feel to yourself, right, well, now that it's all done, let's just we need to just focus on we need to focus on domestic. At the end of the day, this is now, maybe at least if we went the run we went on before, that's another at least 4 games that we don't need to play. We can focus thoroughly on the league, hopefully get a couple of players back for that push it towards the end of the season. And let's be honest here, like, although we'd like to go as far as we can, we need to look at how at these stages of these tournaments, how the calibre of the teams are coming up against.
Exactly.
You know, it's
and
not
we've
easy
went toe to
task.
toe with one
We went
another
toe to
tonight,
toe
and last week. You know what I mean? Away from home, at home, we've went toe to toe. Fine margins, and that's the thing. As much as I'm frustrated and I'm gutted that we've been put out, I've actually came out of the game. I think we left maybe a wee bit. We left a wee bit on the part of the night. We maybe could have squeezed the game for a wee bit
more quality.
But you know, we've been knocked out, and I'm no raging at the players. Because sometimes, let's say under Beale, in the Champions League qualification and that, and we get gubbed, and it was, let's say the PSV 5-0 defeat and stuff like that, where you see everything's all over the place. People you could see were thrown in the towel, but it didn't look like that. These 2 legs, 100%. I think the players done themselves no disservice. They tried their best, but unfortunately, look, one team's got to go through, one team's got to go out, and it just a pity it was
the
us
better
tonight.
Team. I wouldn't say there was a bit like
was,
in terms of
fine,
on paper, the better team just edged it. But I don't, as I say, during that game, during the first leg as well, I didn't see much between the teams, and that does us like.
Oh, it
causes us to be proud, because
100%.
Let's be honest, Rangers are a completely different animal in Europe. We always have been. We've always stepped up to the big occasions, stuff like that. You know, we've had shaky games here and there. The Champions League was a write-off, but I think the Europa League is where our quality is at the now. Hopefully, and let's be honest, I'd love to see how scary we would be under Clement with his desired front three, because let's be honest, Dessers isn't his striker, Scott Wright isn't his winger, Silva, he's on there, he's been doing pretty well, but I'd like to see us with, you know, another a Clement striker under the belt,
cash to spend up
Clement winger, Cortez coming back as well.
I know,
but listen, at the end of the day,
switch your focus back now to, like you say, back to the league, back to the cups, and really just focus on getting players back and just sort of keeping up the standard that they've set for themselves now, because they've set a decent standard. And look, we know that we're a quality side. We can go toe to toe with like a good Benfica team with World Cup winners and Champions League winners.
Season, even be able to do that, even be able to say that we'd have been able to do that.
We certainly don't look out of place, you know what I mean?
100% no in this competition. But
we just need to dust ourselves off and get back to winning the league. Next few months are massive nonetheless.
Absolutely massive. So if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you thought about the game. Let us know what you thought about this video. The link to the BlueSea channel memberships is in the description. It's a great way to help us invest a wee bit more back into the content, make the videos better for you, and we'll see you next time.